let's see how it goes.
Sure. Right, sir. So I'm recording this session, sir, so that those people who missed it, they can go ahead. Sir, today session is titled as the evolution of metro signaling and train control systems, and a rider on that, a journey towards a two-aspect signaling. So today, web presentation by is none other than Dr. P. Raja Goundan. So Dr. Raja Goundan is a PhD, did his PhD from IIT Chennai, and is having a 36 years of experience in railway signal and telecom. He served as a chief telecom engineer on Eastern Railway as well as South Central Railways, and served as additional member Railway Board and retired as general manager. On his retirement, he is serving as a joint director, SAVIT, IIT Chennai from 2007. He also a consultant for Hyderabad, Nagpur, Pune and Metro Railways. And to his credit, there are 25 publications, and he received Engineer of the Year award by the government of AP. Sir, with this, I request Goundan sir to take over the presentation, sir, for presentation.
Thank you, Irsat. At the outset, Chopra sir, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Nandan sir, good morning. Nandan sir is not there. Okay, good morning to all of you.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Goundan. How are you?
I am good, sir. Yeah, again, good morning to all of
Nice
you.
to see you after a long time, after about 1 year.
Yeah, sir. Last time when you came to Secunderabad, we met. After that, no.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
So, at the outset, good morning to all of you. It's indeed a privilege to be with so many eminent signal engineers. In fact, I feel a little hesitant. Had I known that so many people will be joining, I could not have opted for it. So anyway, let us make an attempt to say what I wanted to say. The topic is the evolution of metro signaling. With the rider, are we moving towards the two-aspect signals? To me, it appeared so. That's why I have put the rider on that. So as we proceed towards the end, maybe we can discuss whether this rider is right or wrong. So when I was after my retirement, I started working as a consultant to Hyderabad and other metros. So during this time, I didn't know anything about CVTC. So it was a learning curve. It was a very steep learning curve. So I thought first let me learn about the metro signaling from the basics. How does it come to this stage? What are the stages? So a lot of searching I did. So I have put those things together, and I'm sure most of you must have come across this at some stage or the other in your career, especially with this internet presence now. It's very difficult to stop this being exposed to others. So most of you may be learning, must have gone through this. So what I have done is I've just put them in a sequence. In fact, if I want to put this in a genealogy tree form at a later stage, so that it is in one glance you will know how metro signal has progressed. We will see the evolution from the first. They say the first train control system was with the non-visual indicator, the detonator. The detonator was the first train control system, and it has evolved from detonator to CVTC through various stages, and that's what we are going to see. Now I have divided this into two parts. The first part is fairly elementary, maybe even boring to most of you, but anyway, this part has to be covered, so I have done that. The first part is to say what is an overlap, and in metro, the overlap has been not the conventional overlap. We adopt 120, 180 meters after the stop signal. It has been given as a full block as overlap for convenience sake. So because that introduction is a necessity, that is a necessity because most of the, if I have to start the evolution of the speed signals, speed code signals, then distance to go signals, this one block as the overlap will appear everywhere. So at that time, you may ask the question why one block we have given as overlap. So this had a small history behind it. So that's why I've dealt with in the first portion the overlap, concept of overlap in conventional metros. So there were two aspects, automatic signaling first. So you can see here this overlap is indicated in the emergency brake region. Now, even if I provide, see, especially in two aspects, passing signal at danger is a very big risk. So they thought of the first train stop signal at every signals in the metro, the train stop at the foot of the signal. It is a mechanical device. You must have heard about this. Just when the wheel goes over, the signal is at danger aspect. It is a raised lever kind of a thing on the rail inside. So when the flange goes over it, it trips, the mechanical thing trips the air brake, and the train car is applied an emergency brake. So you can see that mechanism being there at every signal. So if the train passes that at the red signal, still you need some distance beyond the red signal to stop. So if a train, in here I've shown a train 1, train 2. The train 1 is in the overlap region or the braking distance region. So it is likely to collide. So just by providing a train stop signal at every train stop device at every signal does not solve the problem. It depends on where the train ahead is available in the block. If it is near in the overlap, as it is shown here, it is going to collide. So they started looking at this braking distance region as the overlap region, which are to be avoided, which are to be kept clear even if you provide a train stop mechanism. The overlap, of course, depends on the speed, etc., gradient, distance, brake capacity of the train, other things. Next. So the overlap is just indicated here clearly, and the train stop devices are shown at these signals. You can see a T marker. You can see at the red, the T marker is in a different position than the T marker at the green signal A121. It indicates that at the A123 with the red signal, the train stop is in the raised position. That is just a symbol to indicate that is in the raised position, and in A21 it is in the lowered position because that is a green aspect. So if it is in the right position, when the train 2 approaches, trips it and stops in the overlap. So train 1 is beyond the overlap, so it is safe. Next. Yeah, so with the overlap, one peculiar situation has arisen here, because you can see the train 1 is in the overlap of A121, but in the block of A123. So in which case you will have a green aspect there. So with the train ahead of it, the green aspect is shown. So people thought this is not, obviously all signal engineers will say that yes, this is not a good practice to have a green aspect in rear of a train. So this was the problem they confronted. So they decided, why have the overlap at all? Plus overlap needs a track circuit. Go to the next. So you put a replacing track circuit for the overlap, then the problem is solved with 2 red signals behind the train 1. The problem is solved, but it has introduced one additional track circuit. So it is number 1 costly, number 2 is maintenance, mostly maintenance problem, an additional track circuit. Then they thought, why have a replacing track circuit separate? Why not one block in the rear itself as overlap and reduce one track circuit? And thus, go to the next. Yeah, so you can see here train 1 is there. So block between 125 and 123 signals is the overlap. Instead of 120 meter of the separate track circuit, give one block as the. So in all the metro, some of the drawings which I will be showing next, I will be showing two red signals behind a train, not one red signal. So that is just to introduce that concept of 2 red signals behind a train. I have briefed this overlap concept being one block signal. So all metros, one block has been given in the rear as the overlap to start with. Next. So this is, of course, I'll give a detailed explanation later. It's a speed code signal in which you can see 2 red signals, and between the 2 red signals, that is the overlap. So the 0 speed code will come on this. So a train approaches with full speed, then goes on a caution speed, and then goes on a 0 speed, presuming this is a 3-aspect signaling territory. We will explain this more in detail with suitable curves, how it happens actually. Okay, next. Yeah, so this is the introduction to the concept of a block as a whole as the overlap in metro signal. It's in brief, which is of course very familiar to all of you. So now I will deal with the evolution of this train control system from the initial stages. Next. The first non-visual element was used for information in the information chain somewhere in the 19th century. To be precise, it is 1842. It is not detonator, it is detonator. 1842, the first acoustic signal was the detonator. So, of course, it was used, all of you know, in emergencies. Then this was followed by, if we can produce a sound outside, they thought, can we link the sound with the signal? Can we link the sound? When the signal is on only, you will get the sound. When the signal is off, you don't get the signal. So mechanical contact between signal and the device outside was first established. So this was done something like, again, when the signal is lowered, there is a bar which is suppressed. When signal is at on, a bar which is raised. So when the flanges go on that, the bar is raised for every flange which passes over this. A bar is raised, a bar is lowered. The lowering of the bar will strike a gong somewhere outside near the signal post. So when the driver passes the signal at on, he'll get continuous sound of the gong, not continuous, intermittent. For every axle passing, you will get a beat. So the detonator was automated to the movement of the train. This was the first step. And hearing, of course, the sound, you will know that he has passed a red signal. So each axle gave audible signal. Then they thought, why not shift the sound inside the locomotive? Instead of keeping the sound outside, why not we shift the sound inside the locomotive? So this was the birth of the earliest cab signal. And the first in the sequence of developments was the famous crocodile signal acoustic warning. This contains a ramp, just a metal piece, a wooden piece coated with a copper sheet on the top, and it's placed in between the two rails. And there is a galvanic contact by a brush which is in the locomotive and the copper sheet on the wooden piece. The copper sheet is connected to a battery and through the signal control switch and to the earth. So whenever the signal is at on, a galvanic contact will be established to the locomotive and the driver will get a warning inside that the signal is at on. Of course, you can see as it is not a fail-safe device. Yes, but the people at that time, or even now, some of the civil engineers firmly believe that the driver himself is a very intelligent device which is in the locomotive. So you need not have really a fail-safe thing for indication to the driver. Unless the both of them fail, no accident will happen. So that was the theory which was floated at that time when crocodile was invented. And still I am told the French civil engineers believe that the two things together failing is a very rare occasion. So we can do some, reduce the requirements in terms of safety for the train control systems. Now that's a part. Now the galvanic thing of the crocodile system was also, there was a weird thing in 1870. That was, you keep a glass tube outside through which the vacuum is connected to the brake pipe. So when the signal is at on, the semaphore is at on position, there is another equivalent rod kind of a lever kind of a thing which projects outside towards the track. So when the train passes that rod hits the glass tube and the glass tube breaks and the vacuum is destroyed. So there are many weird inventions which came at that time using this concept of stopping the train when he goes, when he passes a red signal. Next. So 1906, after the invention of crocodile, the British system came up. It is all it did was, it is much similar to this. There is a mechanical warning and also an emergency brake. The first crocodile only gave a warning. This had an emergency brake intervention also, the British system had. So if the driver does not acknowledge this for limited time of 5 seconds or 4 seconds, will apply the emergency brake. Most of the ATCs underwent various modifications, keeping the core principles same. Next. The real development took place in 1920 in Pennsylvania railroads, the continuous cab signals. That is, repeating the color aspects, red, green, yellow, or whatever color it is, into the cabin. Was in 1920. It is the continuous cab signal CCS, and which is the, of course, the mother of so many of the train control systems at a later date. So this was considered a milestone in the development of the train control system. So this CCS is existing in many of the European countries. So instead of the mechanical contact which the crocodile system used, so the CCS used an inductive contact from the coded track circuit. The track circuit is coded. So when the coded current passes through the axle, there is an antenna to pick up, and the code is decoded and the cab equipment and be processed further for whatever you want to repeat the signals in the cab. So the color lights, exactly the color lights in the what is on the track side has been put on the cab and it was repeated. So this technology later moved to the other part of the world. The famous one was the Indusi of the German system. And if I remember correctly, when we were probationers, this Indusi was attempted in the Dhanbad Howrah section, but because it didn't work out because of the magnets, electromagnets being stolen by at a very large scale. So it never became a success. So, but Indusi did come to India for some time. So Indusi was the famous follower of this CCS. But the CCS, the continuous cab signal, used the American CCS used the track circuit, but Indusi used the track magnets at discrete places instead of continuous signal transmission from the track to the train. Next. So Indusi and its variants become very popular in Europe. Still, I think some of them are working in some of the small lines where ETCS is not there. So based on the three common ancestors, that is the French crocodile, the American CCS, and the German Indusi. Based on these three, there are more than 30 trains. There are more than 30 train controls which are proprietary of the developer in the European continent mainly, and of course some in the American railroads. Even though it's irony that all of them had a common ancestry from these three, but they were not compatible with each other. They were not compatible. So the ancestry was common, but they were not compatible. So hence the evolution was towards ETCS, which all of you must be knowing. So the point is that these three were the common ancestors, but the developed 30 numbers or 30 and 30 plus numbers were not compatible to each other. Next. Now we will just classify if these three are the ancestors of this train control system. That is broadly classified into various categories. Otherwise, individually describing so many of them will be difficult. So the first one was the auxiliary warning system. So it gives additional safety. Still, trains use the trackside signals. It is based on the aspect of the next signal. Any dangerous situation can be caused only by simultaneous error of the train control system and the driver. This was the belief on those days. This is only a warning device, actually AWS. Next. This is warning. The next category is the cab signaling. Repeat the aspects inside. Used in high-speed tracks. The transmitted signal information conform to the actual traffic situation. Connection to the loco from the traffic control must be permanent. Traffic control meaning from the ground. Connection to the loco from the ground to the permanent. The integrity of the transmitted signaling information must be maintained across the entire route of transmission, that is from the interlocking to the onboard equipment. And the onboard equipment must be highly reliable, safe, and probably active redundancy. Next.
So there is a small lag is being observed, sir, after clicking the slide.
Okay.
1 or 2 seconds.
Give a pause, sir.
No. Now it is. It has come, sir. It move to the next slide.
Okay. First is the place and continuity of the. So these categories are. How are they classified? The categories are place and continuity of transmission. Where do you transmit the information and how is it continuous or intermittent? So depending on that, the things are the train control systems are classified. This is the first category: place and continuity of transmission. Next. The next depends on the methods of transmission. Are you using electromechanical contact like the crocodile system? Or you have inductive contact like the inducer or track circuit? Or you do use the transponder like BALIS? Or use a wireless link in CVTC, in ETCS? The methods of transmission. This is because the category depends on what kind of methods of transmission you use. Next. Then the next classification comes on the basis of what type of information is being transmitted. First is location dependent warning purpose. This one, it only says you are approaching a signal. The signal aspect is immaterial, so that the driver gets alert. That is the first. Then the next warning was the next signal is in the stop aspect. You don't not only warn you are approaching a signal, you are also warning that you are approaching a stop signal. Then the next one was repeat the aspect of the signal inside. So that means the transmission is also repeating the aspect of the signal inside. The next one is transmit where to stop the train so that you can generate the braking curve in the onboard equipment. Unless the information of where to stop the signal is the location of stoppage is indicated to the cabin, you cannot draw the braking curve. We will see later. It's a very simple algorithm to draw the braking curve, which needs place of stop information. The next category, type of intervention. What type of intervention the train control system, what type of intervention the train control system will implement? Some of the systems only warning and no automatic brake. Some of the systems are emergency brake intervention. But this emergency brake intervention implementation approach is simple. Then full speed supervision. The dynamic speed profile is calculated on board and then keep on watching whether the train is driven as per this profile speed or not. The train-borne equipment in this case decides when to give a warning, when to apply service brake, and when to apply emergency brake. It means everything what goes on mentally inside the driver's brain is calculated and then displayed on the DMI, the driver machine interface. Next. So this is type of intervention. Then the next aspect comes to determining of the position of the train. How do you determine the position of where is the train with respect to the stop signal? Without the position given, so you cannot have a target braking. Where to stop the train, you won't know. So without the position information, some systems, that is the warning systems. The relative position, I have hit the distance signal. So from here I will count how far I am away from the stop signal. Then I can calculate the profile only for this between the distance signal and the stop signal. I can calculate the speed profile. Then then development was the absolute position information. That means the whole network is put on a grid. Then from the starting point, exactly where you are all the time, you are being tracked where you are. And then of course it becomes much more easier to, then you can only calculate the errors. Where you are, is there an error? Now, how do they fix the errors? There are fixed balances on the network which transmit all the time the coordination. So when a loco goes to that, in addition to its own calculation of the location, it's compared with the ballast position. Okay, at this ballast, my location should be this. So it resets itself to the ballast position and then again starts counting from that. The ballast, because location of the ballast is very common in the metro systems. So ballasts are kept almost 1 kilometer, 900 meters from each other. The next. So based on these three, four categories, that is what type of information, it's continuous, discontinuous, method of transmission, type of information transmitted, type of intervention. So depending on all those things, now we will see how it has evolved from the elementary stage to the CBTC level. Next. Yeah. You can see in the picture, just for the moment, forget about the box inside the dotted box is there. Just forget about all those elements. So conventionally, we see the operator, that is the station master, then interlocking. The information goes to the signal is picked up by the driver, and then he drives the engine. This is the normal channel. Now this channel is being now changed, or added to the channel is the track equipment, transmission media, onboard equipment, display, and then the driver is still used to drive the train with this. And you can see a dotted arrow at the bottom, double line dotted arrow from the onboard equipment to the engine. So that is the next stage of evolution. From onboard equipment, just bypass the driver and start controlling the train. So these are the various stages of development of train control systems. And there is the information chain between the station manager, station master, and the engine. This is a very famous diagram which is available on the internet. Next.
ये किसमें रिलेटेड है? रुको बताते। रख तो नहीं अभी।
Next. Yeah, this is a repetition of the three aspect signal. We are going to discuss the mechanical ATP to stop and the electronic ATP to stop. And what does the onboard equipment does and how does the driver control the train with this kind of equipment. Next. This is, I'm just skipping this slide because this only says if you don't have the ATP, what are the disadvantages? Like visibility problems, time loss, reaction time, all those things. So nothing to discuss. All signal engineers, we're all experts on this. Next. Next. This also it says how to overcome these difficulties with the automatic train protection. Go to the next term now. Yeah. So this is the schematic arrangement of the cap signal equipment. You can see that the information through the axle is picked up and amplified by a filter and the decoding equipment. And there are decoding relays which drive the three aspects. Now the track circuit, in addition to its own function of detecting the train, carries a code, modulated code on the current. So that code is picked up by the amplifier and decoded. If a particular code is coming, it is yellow. If a particular code is coming, it's green. If no code comes, it is R. R is not given a separate code. R is given no code because that is the fail-safe. If no code is there, you take it as R. Your signal may be green, but the corresponding code is not given. So it will come as a red signal, red aspect, and the driver doesn't respond accordingly. It will apply the brake. Just to make it fail-safe, R has been not given any code, zero code. There are no tone on the actual on the track circuit for red aspect. Next. The next stage was See, the first limb is the same, amplifier followed by a decoder. Decode relays 75 hertz, 180 hertz, etc. It goes to the cap signal. That is the aspects of the color aspects of the signal is given there. Then there is additional loop here, the speed and code comparator. So this code also determines, each code determines what will be the speed. You can attach, nominate a particular speed to each code. So that speed is available to the comparator. Then its speed sensor gives the speed of the train. So it compares these two. So if depending on the speed is more or not, the brake is controlled. This is the next stage. So this has got both. The cap signal is there, plus the speed code comparator is also there. So the train can be controlled. Next. So this system allows the train operator to control the speed as long as it does not exceed the commanded speed. If the commanded speed exceeds, the brake is applied. A warning is given to the driver, a response time of 2 to 3 seconds. And if it doesn't do that, if this is done in that within this period, if he applies, then the brake can be released. How does it control actually? Within 2 to 3 seconds, if the driver responds, that means if he applies the brake, then when the commanded speed is reached, he is able to release the brake. But if he has not responded, he started applying the brake after 50 seconds or something, then it cannot be the commanded. Even if you reach the commanded speed, you cannot release. So you have to stop and do the resetting process. Next. So the wayside, the classification falls into these 3-4 simple categories: wayside signaling plus intermittent warning. The next is wayside signaling plus intermittent warning and enforcement. The next is continuous cap signal plus speed enforcement. First was continuous cap signal, then added to that was speed enforcement. Then of course the PTC and other new technologies like CBTC all have come next. Next. Yeah, and this is already this superfluous. Ramana, go to the next. This also I have covered already. Continuous. Next. Yeah. Now what all it does? Check on the driver's ability is the first thing. Is the driver active or not? Example is a dead man's handle. Check on the driver's attentiveness. Pushing a special button to acknowledge a warning signal. Then the train stop function. In case if it passes the red signal, apply the brake, or the driver does not respond within the nominated time, apply brake. And once having applied the brake supervision. That means at different places, the speed keeps on reducing. You have to keep on monitoring whether how much brake force is to be applied or released. So till you reach 0. So these are the principal functions. Check on the driver's ability, check on the driver's attentiveness, then train stop function you have to enforce, and the brake supervision function you have to enforce. Next. Now the supervision of the speed, there are 2 categories. One is a step supervision. So the R aspect is there, we are supposed to have 0 speed. Then at different places, depending on the aspect of the signal, the code will be sent to the driver what speed he must go. Let us say the top of the step is unlimited 80 km speed. The next step can be say 45 or 70 kilometers, and the next can be 45 and then red. 45, for example, is between the caution and red. And attention and caution will be the next step, and green will be the top step. So this is an example of how do you. So depending on what the signal displays, the speed code is sent to the cab through the track circuit. Now this is continuous steps, and there is a spot supervision. At selected location, you supervise the speed. These are 2 simple methods are there. Like Inducy has got a system where you put a magnet. If that magnet is energized, that means your speed at that point should be 75 kilometers. Another magnet is energized, speed at that point should be 40. Third magnet is energized, speed at that point should be 30. Like that spot supervision also you can do Continuous supervision obviously needs a continuous transmission medium like track circuit or wireless or a cable is needed. This needs only intermittent magnets. Next. Yeah. No, this diagram next. Ramana, go to the next diagram. No, this diagram, there is some distortion, Ramana. I am getting some distortion, Ramana, in this diagram. Can you go back, go to the, can you go to the slides after? Thank you, some slides are there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In that, because this I am getting a distortion in my iPad.
Okay.
Yeah, not this one. No, next. Next.
So,
That's all.
I mean, you have one more backup copy, sir. Just
Yeah,
open
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Backup
yeah.
copy.
Just open it because I don't know, I'm getting a funny distortion. I'm not able to read it. Sorry for the delay interruption. Yeah, not this. Not this. No. No.
1 minute, sir. I'm taking original PPT, sir. Just a minute,
Okay,
sir.
okay. Kindly bear with me for 2 minutes. On my iPad, I am not able to see the picture clearly. It's all broken.
అది ఏ ఫోల్డర్ చేశారా? పీవీలో చేశారా? దీనిలో చేశారా? దీనిలో చేశారా? ఇది పూర్తిగా లేదు. ఇది కట్ డౌన్ వర్షన్ ఉంది. కాపీ అన్నాను కానీ కాపీలో పూర్తిగా మీ పీపీటీఎక్స్ కాపీ ఎక్కడ ఉంది చెప్పండి. అది రైట్. పీపీటీఎక్స్ కాపీ ఎక్కడ అప్లోడ్ చేశారు? పీపీటీఎక్స్ అప్లోడ్ చేయలేదా?
Ramana, see after towards the end, Ramana, it may be there.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, this copy also, we are having a 61 slides.
Go in this.
Sir.
What is this one? 57 is what? 57? No. 57 is also needed. Yeah, we'll see later. Next.
Sir.
Next. No, it has to be earlier to this.
Okay, earlier to this.
Yeah, earlier to that.
Otherwise, your original slide will go to your original slide, sir.
No, earlier to this you go.
Now this one, sir. This one is okay.
Yeah, this one is only distorted.
Okay.
The A, B, C, and all at various places.
Acha. Okay. So 1 minute.
I'm looking for the one next.
1 minute. This one, sir?
Yeah, this one you can keep. This one you can keep. So this
Okay.
one you can keep. Let us try to explain with this only.
Okay. 1 minute, sir. Just
Is anything else? 1 minute. The next one, Ramana.
sir.
Okay. Let us keep this first.
Yeah.
Go ahead with that. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, yeah. See, in this slide, you see there is a step curve which depends on the signal aspect. The speed indication is given to the driver, and the train one is stopping in a block. In fact, the train is supposed to be 1 block away. So because 1 block is overlap, so we are supposed to stop 1 block before. Now the rightmost curve is the continuous speed control. If I have a continuous speed control with the train speed will follow the profile, something shown in that. But what actually we are doing the earlier stage was the step of speeds at various places were given. That is the step curve. Just above the step curve, you can see the actual speed of the train. The train comes to the left extreme at full speed. Then he is told at that point, your speed is now going to be 70 kilometers. Obviously, he cannot reduce the speed from 80 to 70 instantaneously. So he will go at a speed higher than 70 and slowly start braking. Since the speed is higher than 70, automatically the brake will be applied even if he doesn't apply the brake. But if he applies the brake, how does the system know that the driver is applying the brake? So I don't have to do anything. It is done by just put a mercury switch which senses the deceleration. The deceleration takes place because of the braking. The mercury contact will be closed because it's a liquid. It just moves due to deceleration. The switch is closed, so it stops the system, prevents the system from applying the brake, and the driver continues to apply the brake, comes to the commanded speed of 70, and he says overshoot. Then he comes across the next step. The next step also the same thing happens. It reduces the speed, and accordingly, step by step, the speed is reduced to 0. Now this is the step speed control of the driver. Now obviously you can see that one code is enough at every location at what speed he must go, but it has got a lot of jerk. You can see it everywhere. The speed is the moment it senses the reduced speed, the jerking takes place. So because the driver does not know what is going to be his next speed, he knows where is going to be the next speed because the signal is also there by the side, but he does not know what is going to be the next speed. If he sees the indication of the signal, the aspect of the signal, then he can control smoothly. Suppose for some reason he is not able to see the aspect of the signal, then the control will be jerky. So this is the problem. So the second, the one more addition was done to this. The driver, if we give two information to the driver, then perhaps we can control the train more smoothly. What are the two informations? At this block, what is my speed and what will be my speed at the next block? If this block is 80 and the next block is 70, that I am told now I can go at 60. At the next block, I can go at 70. But how do I know where is the next block? The next block, the distinction or the demarcation is made either by the signal if there is a signal, otherwise there is a block marker is there. So from that and from the knowledge of the road, he knows the next block where it starts. So accordingly, he will start controlling the train in a smoother manner with the two-code signaling system. So, but the problem is to transmit two code, I need wider bandwidth. So this was the problem, but they could get a wider bandwidth, and two code signal was also is a part of the development of the speed code signaling. So first was speed code signaling, then was two code signaling. Now I must look for my another diagram. Ramana, can you help me to get the diagram?
Yes, sir. I'll get that one, sir. Okay.
Yeah, the one.
1 minute, sir. Just 1 minute, sir. Just opening, sir.
Yeah.
Come on. This one, sir. So this is original, this one, sir.
This is what was made actually in your drawing office.
Okay.
They made 2 drawings, although this one drawing I'm looking for. That got
Sir,
disturbed.
able to see the
No.
screen, sir?
No, nothing.
Acha, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, it is, I able to locate it. Just a minute. I have to share it.
Okay. Not this.
So this is the original PPT, sir.
No, this is distorted. That's what I'm saying.
Sir, we don't have any other thing copy, sir.
No. You just go. One second. Oh, that's one before. Yeah, hold on. Okay, I can do with this. No problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can do with this. Right. Thanks. Sorry, gentlemen, for this long delay. Somehow my iPad, I think, is a problem. Okay. Yeah. Now this is the diagram. Of course, I have made another diagram, but doesn't matter. This I can make this. So in this diagram, there are many curves are shown, depend which indicates the development of the train control. The A is the speed code signaling. A is the speed code signaling, the step curves, which you can see there are 2 R's, 2 red aspects for the train is there on the right hand side. There is a red followed by another red followed by white, double yellow and green. So there is a block between R and R, 2 reds is the overlap block. Now the train has to stop. So far the thinking was at this stage, the train has to stop within the overlap. Preferably it has to stop on the first R. If you overshoot for any reason, you have to stop within the overlap. So the first curve is the A curve A which I have shown, which is the step curve, full speed, caution speed, further reduced speed, and then 0 speed at the first R. Now, how does the driver follow this speed? He has got 2 options, X and Y. The X curve and Y curve. Y curve is where I transmit only one code. One code goes, so a jerky motion, application of brake and stops. He is supposed to stop within first R, the left hand side R, red signal, and if he overshoots, it goes into the overlap block. The second curve is X. If I send 2 codes to the driver, so his braking is in advance and more smoother, and everywhere he is restricted to the speed what he is supposed to go. Then he stops at the first R without any problem. This is the curve X. Then if you transmit the distance where you are supposed to stop, and you can calculate the braking curve, then that is the curve B. You can see the application of brake is a little later delayed, the curve B, and he comes smoothly to the first R. Then next is, if you are doing all these things, instead of transmitting the R here, you transmit the position of the second R, so that I know I am transmitting a position, I can accurately calculate, I can stop. So that is the curve C. That means you can see here, the curves are getting shifted to the right. As the generations of these train control systems improve, the braking curve keeps shifting to the right, which means increase in capacity of the train operation. So the curve C is the distance to go signaling. In other words, the train can stop just at the entrance of the block where the preceding train is, just at the entrance of the block. there is no need for one block overlap. So they've reduced the overlap block to 0 block overlap. So the train can accurately stop at the entrance to the block where the train is occupied. So this is the curve C is the distance to go signaling. To summarize, this is what happens. The curve shifts to the right as single code, double code, distance to go signaling. This development took place. The curve shift moving towards the right. The next question is, if I am having so accurate stopping place, I mean I can calculate the curve, then why not go up to the back of the train? The curve C further shifts to the back of the preceding train. Further shifts to the back of the preceding train, and that is the CBTC, or the moving block. In fact, I had a better diagram. I'm not able to get it, so I'm trying to explain with this available. So one more curve you can say, curve you can draw right up to the back of the braking curve, right up to the back of the preceding train, and that is CBTC. Distance to go is just at the entrance of the block, and CBT is right up to back of the train, and the other curves are to the left of the stopping point. Go back to our original, Ramana. So we have seen X, Y, speed code signaling, two-speed code signaling, and this is what I have explained. Okay, next. No, this is not required. Not required. Yeah. Now, one simple thing, in the DTG or in CBTC, how does the braking curve calculated? How does the braking curve calculated? This is one algorithm I have given. There are many algorithms proprietary to each of the signaling companies. So here it is shown two trains. Let us say S is the braking distance which is required for speed V of the following train to come from speed V to 0. So that means S equal to V square by 2A, where A is the deceleration rate. Next. Now, the trains are given movement authority to a stopping point, which is called the movement authority MA. If the movement authority is greater than S, in the diagram shown, is greater than S, no action is required. I need not reduce the speed, I keep going. If movement authority is equal to S, S is missing there. If the movement authority is equal to S, then braking is to be initiated. So now braking has initiated. Now I have to calculate the braking curve. Take any point X on the braking curve, then we must know the speed as per the braking curve. So Vx square equal to A into X, where X is shown in the diagram. How much is X? So Vx can be calculated. If the train speed is less than Vx, no action is required. If the train speed is greater than Vx, automatic brake is to be applied. So that every instance, every point, this Vx is calculated and compared with the speed of the train, and accordingly the brake initiation is taking place. The next. Yeah, in the case of CBTC, the movement authority is up to the back of the train. So same calculation takes place. As the train moves, the movement authority keeps on increasing. Continuously keeps on increasing. But in the case of distance to go signaling, the movement authority is only up to the beginning of the block, the beginning of the block where the train is standing. So till the train crosses that block, the movement authority remains the same. So the calculation continues. At the moment the train goes to the next block, the movement authority gets a quantum jump. So the movement authority in a DTG is in a jumping manner, which depends on the how much is the block length. In the case of CBTC or moving block, the movement authority continuously changes. That's the difference. And of course, the capacity is more because the gap between the two trains in the case of DTG is. Ramana, this is the graph I was looking for, the one before. Yeah, this is the one. No. Yeah, this one. This is what I am looking for. I will just go through this again. Curve A is the step speed signal curve given to the driver. X is the 2-code speed signal. The driver takes in advance. He knows at what speed he should go in the next block. So he reduces, he applies the brake in advance and continuously moves towards the R. See, there are 2 R's, which is between the distance between the 2 R's is the overlap. Then curve Y is the single speed code is given. So it's a little jerky movement and it stops either at the R or in between the 2 R's. Curve A is the theoretical curve. If I give a continuous braking curve, it will appear like curve B. And curve C is the distance to go signal, because there it goes up to the second R, so that the overlap distance is reduced. And curve D is the next right extreme curve, which goes up to the back of the preceding train with some safety margin. So this in principle, you can see the curves are moving towards the right for the CBTC, and the braking curve moving towards the right means increase in capacity or frequency. Next one. Next. Yeah, you can see here in this the braking curve, the green color, standard braking curve. The distance to go braking curve, it goes up to the entrance of the block where the train is staying with a safety margin. Otherwise, it can go up to the entrance. And the moving block means it will go up to the back of the train, which is not indicated in this diagram. Next. Yeah, having said all these things, I've said in the beginning that are we moving towards 2-aspect signaling? And if so, why? Why do I say that? Now, if you take the calculation for a fixed block system, the 3 aspects you can see, there are 2 trains position. The distance between the yellow and the red is a braking distance, which is S. I calculated as S. So that means the intersignal distance is S. So the train separation in this case will be S plus the overlap distance plus the reaction. P is the reaction distance and L is the train length. So the train separation in this case will be S plus O plus P plus L is equal to 2S plus K. Where K is O plus P plus L. I have just reduced put a single symbol for these 3. So that means this is the headway in terms of distance. This, when you convert into using the speed, you can calculate the distance in terms of the headway in terms of time. Now, if you go to 4 aspects, so the S will be between the WY and red. So it is split into S by 2 and S by 2. So the train separation will be S by 2 plus S plus K. So it is equal to 3 by 2 plus S plus K. So imagine if there is a 5-aspect system. It's not there, but if a 5-aspect is there, it will look like S by 3 plus S plus K is this. So you now increase the number of aspects to N. So it will be S by 3 plus S by N by 2 plus K, which can be simplified to N minus 1 by N minus 2 into S plus K. Now, think of N is infinity. Suppose there are infinity aspects I put. So N minus 1 by N minus 2 becomes 1. It becomes S plus K. That means the train, the first diagram, if you see, the train comes to S. The separation between these two will be between the 2 signals, Y and yellow and red. And still he can go with good speed. And that is what is the next one you go. The next one. Yeah, that's what the 2 aspect is. Between the 2 green and this thing is the distance. So ultimately you are bringing down the separation between the 2 trains to simply the braking distance. That's what CBTC does. That's what all advanced ones does. But CBTC is the most advanced today. So that does bringing the distance between the 2 trains to the braking distance. And of course it does depending on the speed. So in this proof I have shown that it doesn't depend on the speed, or it depends on the block length, but the distance is the braking distance. So as you keep on increasing the number of aspects, ultimately you come back to the 2 aspects. So the entire journey has been to convolve back into the distance between the two trains is the braking distance. And we went through 2 aspect, 3 aspect, all sorts of signaling, step curve, and ultimately brought down the distance between the two trains equal to the braking distance. And that's what CBTC does.
Sure.
Okay. Anything? Thank you. I'm sorry for the long interruption because of the ultimately, of course, we could get the curve.
Sir, a few of the questions at the time of registration, people have raised it, sir. Just would like to share with you.
Yeah.
So able to see the questions, sir. These are the questions raised by the participants.
Okay.
Now the forum is open for the participants to write the questions orally, and even in the chart, if anything is there, just I'll brought on the screen. I'll bring it on the screen. So go ahead, sir. You able to see the screen, sir?
Yeah. What are the accuracies of train location determination in ETCS 3? As long as I think it is equivalent to CBTC, which is about 4 or 5 centimeters. I think so. Hardware and software requirements for upgradation from ETCS level 1 to level 2, ETCS level 1 to CBTC. ETCS level 1 and CBTC are not compatible, so you cannot upgrade it. There's a lot of works going on between the interoperable CBTC and CBTC. Maybe I think what is that? Cross channel. What channel is that? They're trying to experiment on that. So you cannot upgrade the ETCS level 1 to CBTC because they are not compatible. The level 1 to level 2 are upgradable is totally upgradable possible. So it is only the OBC equipment, onboard equipment, the antenna, the fixtures, the Gallis reader, they all remain the same. The software has to be loaded into the OBC for level 2 because it has calculated the braking curve. Depending on because there the updation comes continuously. Here the level 1 the updation is only at spots. In level 2 the updation through the radio comes continuously. So the braking curve has to be updated continuously and it is upgradable. ETCS to CBTC level upgradation is not possible as of now because they are not compatible. The maintenance of CBTC system means what? I don't know. Now they are all maintaining, the metros are maintaining through AMC to the original supplier. That's what they are doing. To understand recent development in metro signaling. CBTC is the current. Now some metros are experimenting CBTC. CBTC today works with Wi-Fi radio, which is the citizen band, which is a free band, either 2.4 or 5.5. But there are some issues coming up due to interference from the other operators. So now they are trying for a LTE on CBTC, and of course LTE is being tried for ETCS also. So that is one development. The communication medium is being changed to LTE from Wi-Fi radio. That is one thing taking place. And the second thing, theoretical thing, takes place at an abstraction level. That is, we said with all the development, the distance between two trains is the braking distance. Distance between two trains. Now, can it be reduced less than this braking distance is the next question. So theoretically, the answer is yes, because the first train, if he initiates brake, he will also follow a braking curve to stop. He is not going to stop like a brick wall. He will follow a braking curve. So you also, if these two trains are very closely coupled electronically, then you also follow a braking curve. Then the difference can be only safety distance of 50 meters or 100 meters. You need not give the braking distance as the separation between these two. This is the next level of thinking. But this thinking they poured cold water on this after this ICE Intercity Express accident in Germany, where the preceding train met with an accident, the axle broken or something like that. Then one coach suddenly appeared across the track in no time, giving without any notice. So then the following train, obviously, if you do the distance of 50 meters only, that will also derail. So this brick wall situation, first they thought is theoretical. No train can stop suddenly. It has to follow a braking curve. Then this accident said a brick wall situation is possible to encounter. So now I don't know whether the development will continue or not. The next is basic arrangement of signaling in metro operation. First was DTG. Chennai Metro works on distance to go signaling. DMRC also, I think 1 or 2 lines work on distance to go signaling. Then all of them are going now back to CBTC thing. But here I've got my personal view on this. This headway of CBTC 90 seconds, 120 seconds. See the headway, there are 3 headways. One is the line headway, second is the station headway, third is the turnover headway. Whichever is the critical maximum, that is treated as the headway of the thing. If you go back to our automatic signaling itself, 3 or 4 aspects, if you calculate the headway and do it, I don't see anything great achieved by the CBTC system. I don't know. I have my, in fact, I'm writing a paper on that. So I want to see whether it is really a hype or is there any truth in this. Taking into account the line headway, the station headway, and the turnover headway, with the 4 aspect signaling and CBTC signaling. This is what I want to show. I'm just working on it. I just started. I don't know. But basic arrangement for signaling in metro train is CBTC. Evolution, present status, and future trend. Evolution, I've touched upon something. Present status, I touched. Future, I told you the distance need not be theoretically an abstraction level. The distance between the trains need not be braking distance. It can be less than the braking distance, provided you don't encounter a brick wall stoppage. If you encounter a brick wall stoppage, then this will not work. So they have encountered brick wall stoppage in one of the accidents. So I do not know in which direction it will take now. They will stay with that or not. Now, type of signaling planned on metros in India, commissioned after 2016, is all going to be CBTC with Wi-Fi or CBTC with LTE, one of these 2. Or CBTC system interoperable and keeping interoperable? No, even 1474 IEEE is the specification followed by all CBTC systems, but there is no interoperable things. Each one has got their own proprietary element. It is not like ETCS. It is not interoperable. So that is the problem with many metros where expansion is to take place. You have to go to the same vendor. Chennai Metro has the problem for expanding. They have to go to the DTG to Siemens only. And anybody else also, if they have to expand their CBTC system, you have to go back to the same vendor again. They are not interoperable as of now. They say there are some work going on about interoperability. I don't know how much it is. At least it may not come in my lifetime. Next.
No, you're talking about LTE. I'm
Yes, sir.
thinking about 5G as well.
Yes, sir. LTE, that is the problem actually. Very good question, sir. LTE, you know this 3GPP, which is the standardization body for all these things, 3G, 4G, 5G and all. The proposal for the future railway mobile communication system, FRMCS, has been put up by UIC to 3GPP. Now, 3GPP has considered the requirements of the railways. Then they are saying, why change the 4G or 4G advanced, all these requirements? Why do we piggyback on LTE? Why not we straight away go to quantum jump into 5G and be done with it? So I am told they are not very enthusiastic in bringing these requirements of railways into LTE mode, LTE form, because they feel we can go to 5G directly, it's a waste of time. So that is the situation now as long as LTE is concerned for railways. LTE otherwise is, of course, it's a fully specified, fully operational. LTE requirement for railways have been given by UIC to 3GPP, and 3GPP 3GPP, there are different groups. Majority of the groups are saying, why not we jump to 5G directly? Why on LTE? So it may go either way. I don't know.
Another thing, once we think about LTE or 5G, what's the future of GSMR? I think it's now an outdated technology.
Yes, sir. Yes. GSMR is dead. 2030 maximum, or 2030 maximum. 2030 it will be, manufacturer said we will not supply spares for you. So ETCS has to ride on LTE. Somewhere they've tried ETCS on Tetra. I think one country they have tried, somewhere in one of those ex-oil USSR companies. They say it is very successful, it's working very fine. That is the only place. But
Kazakhstan, sir. Kazakhstan.
Yeah, correct. So the only solution seems to be now LTE. There is pressure on 3GPP to come out with the UIC requirements on LTE. So hopefully, depending on how much pressure they put, it may come through.
No, my personal views are for Metro, Tetra would be superior to GSMR. Of course, LTE would definitely be far superior.
Yes, sir, you are right. The LTE, only the very great plus point of LTE is these days with security problems, everybody wants to take the CCTV also into the operating center from the coaches, which is a very consumer of is gulping bandwidth. So LTE only can cater to that if you are looking for that. But otherwise, if you are looking for only train control, SMR bandwidth is enough. LTE Tetra bandwidth is also enough. But if you look for other things, this LTE is this solution. In fact, I think if I'm not wrong, Dhaka Metro, they are trying something with LTE, I'm told. But Korea and all, they are trying out LTE. LTE will succeed in ETCS and CPTC. LTE will succeed. Whether 3GPP is there or not, it will come through.
For the video coverage from the trains requires a very high bandwidth, which we have calculated roughly about of the order of more than 100 Mbps. Because what we are planning in Mumbai Metro Line 3 is 100 Mbps bandwidth exclusively for video transmission system for onboard CCTV coverage.
Possible, yes, because each camera will take about minimum.
Each coach, there are 31. Each coach has about 8 cameras, yes, 4 cameras. Yes. So total about 32 cameras are there per train.
Yes, but 2 megabits minimum if you compress it.
And 31 trains in operation continuously. So we have calculated roughly 100 Mbps bandwidth is required for that.
That you may not even with
aggregation, LTE is giving 100 Mbps.
Yes.
Yeah, that full then
up to allowed LTE.
LTE won't meet with the video transmission system requirements.
But normally, sir, video transmission is done for few camera only, not all the camera of the train.
No, see, but the point is it has to be available at any time, all the time.
Yeah,
this is what has been planned.
So that's
all the time available.
The control center will be able to select whichever train and whichever coach he wants, whichever train he wants to.
True. That has to be done from the train itself.
Transmission is continuous.
Mr. Tuteja, I think Mr. Mishra is right. See, at any given time, you will only take 2-3 cameras or 5 cameras. You will not take all the cameras.
Yes. But streaming is continuously.
Sorry?
Streaming is there continuously.
Sir, normally,
whatever he required.
No, you can say streaming also. You can select. You only locate it in the coach itself. You store it. Don't send it.
Which the stream
on the train onboard storage for NVR. NVR is being provided in the each train also for 14 days. The storage that is scattered. Yes. But for the monitoring purposes, it is required to transmit all.
Yes, it's good to have that, but I have my doubts. Is this kind of bandwidth will be available in the near future or not?
No, streaming can be selected remotely.
Yeah. Then what is the next question is what can one expect the main broad gauge trunk route to be provided with the ATC? I don't know. Some of the board people may be able to answer that. I think ETCS level 2, that's what is being talked about. Mr. Arun Saxena will be able to answer this question, or where all the broad gauge trunks, whether we will have ATC system, what is the thinking? Mr. Saxena, you can please enlighten us.
Actually, the project was sanctioned for the golden correlator and the diagonals for the entire country. And this project was, when it was about to approve, they wanted to go for a pilot first of all. We are now doing the pilot project of ETCS level 2 spread over 4 different railways, about 650 kilometers and 500 locomotives with ETCS level 2, and attempting to work on 3 GBP release with 14, so that we are able to demonstrate functionality of ETCS level 2. And if we succeed, then we take up all the locomotives in the phase 2 and the entire network in the phase 3.
Okay, good. Wonderful. That answers that question. And would like to know what is the cost performance takeaway. Today CBTC costs around 8 to 9 crores per kilometer. Without the video from the coach to the OCC. With the video, of course, the cost will be high because the telecom system will be different. And performance-wise, yes, CBTC is all performing well. Out of that, I think Siemens is doing better than others, I am told.
I think Alstom has got number of orders in country so far.
Yes.
Alstom has got a pretty good number of orders. In fact, in Mumbai, they are doing 4 lines today, as of today.
Correct. Now, about functional requirement and application. Functional requirements is specified in 1474 for CBTC. 1474 is the specification. Most of the specifications are centered around that. Now, the next question is cyber threats and protection. Yeah, this is an issue actually. Though the government of India, there are some guidance, but I don't think any of the metros or railways follow this guidance. We are supposed to get a safety audit done. There are recognized safety auditors in the government of India. Department of Information Technology has approved a list of safety auditors specifically for cyber threats. I don't know whether we go through that process or not for our systems. Actually, no danger can happen except DOS, the disruption of service. All these fellows can do only disruption of service. Safety element is taken care by the design of fail-safe things of signaling. But DOS, yes, it can happen. But if you follow the existing government of India guidelines, but at least some development. But it appears that nobody is following this. Mr. Tuteja, can you throw some light on this?
For the cyber security, definitely the required precautions are required to be taken. So we have asked our contractor to develop a detailed cyber security plan and also to implement it properly with a proper intrusion detection systems and also the firewalls, requisite level of firewalls. And the best way to maintain the system cyber security will be to maintain an air gap between the internet and the system, our system. But what happens is that the passenger information, related information, sometimes you would like to give it on the internet for the convenience of the traveling public. So there also, I think, a method has to be that the only information can be pushed from the servers, ATC servers, into the passenger information servers, and proper security levels are maintained. So I think it's a game. It's a sort of a game of cat and mouse always. Cyber security.
But why don't you get it validated by the auditors?
I think that's a good idea. We'll definitely try to.
It is in the website, Government of India website. If you go, that list of auditors are there.
Yes.
At least
Just to add to what Tuteja said, Arun Saxena here.
Yes, Arun.
Just to add to what Tuteja said, now the concept which is emerging is the quantum networks, where a quantum key is transmitted so that the security is ensured to a separate quantum key is transmitted separately on the network and controlling the entire cyber security issue. This is the development which we have. Yesterday we had a webinar with RENS, and we are working 2 of our data centers to improve the cyber security level there.
Okay.
Sir, SC
Dr. Verma.
My suggestion
मिश्रा जी एक मिनट
to the team is
मैं कुछ कह रहे थे इसके ऊपर डॉक्टर वर्मा सर
No, You are asking me?
Yes, sir. You are trying to say something on the cyber security.
No. I didn't say
तो
anything.
chat पे आपका line आया ना सर अभी?
नहीं, chat पे मैं आया था because I had a question about Dr. Gondan said that we are finally coming back to the two aspect signaling where it is go no go. So I had a question on that.
Yes, Dr. Verma.
Yeah, I had a question. Like in you can't compare
Okay, sir.
CBTC with two aspect because in two aspect even if you leave apart the overlap, your minimum block distance will be equal to the distance between the signals, whereas in CBTC it is equal to the breaking distance.
No, signal distance is calculated on breaking distance only. In two aspect also, the distance between the signals is a breaking distance in the two aspect.
So it will be okay. Two aspect if you keep very closely spaced between say just after the breaking distance. But what will you do with the overlap?
No. See, I am talking about if you draw an automatic signaling, two aspect automatic signaling, the distance, don't worry about the block signal, how two aspect signals are located. It is a different concept altogether. In auto signal, two aspect, which the metro started with, if you locate it, the distance between two signals is always the breaking distance of the train. Only thing is it's fixed. In CBTC, the difference is, as I said, in CBTC, the breaking distance depends on the speed of the train. Whereas in two aspect automatic block, the distance is already prefixed for a given speed of the first train, they prefix the block. This is only variable there, but the distance is breaking distance. And of course, CBTC has got enough of safety. In two aspect, there is no safety.
Yeah, no, my question was different. Say, suppose one train is at the end of a section.
Right.
Still, you will have the whole section to be kept free. Whereas in CBTC, you can have distance from it is a moving block. So
that's what I said. In CBTC, it depends on the speed and the moving block. Here it's fixed, but the distance is
here it is fixed.
Breaking distance. I am using the word BD. Whatever is the speed, breaking distance is the separation, and that is what is done in two aspect also.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can go to the next question, sir.
My suggestion, Dean Irshad, is let's have a brainstorming session on cyber security.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
We have to come prepared for that, sir. We have to read all the Government of India circulars, audits, policies, and all, and what kind of threats it will come. We'll get prepared. I think we'll have one session on cyber security.
Sure, sir. I noted down, sir. I will organize, sir. Sir, you can go to the next question, sir.
I think I will suggest that Arun Saxena take the presentation and then we will discuss. Arun?
LTH.
Not LTH, cyber security.
5T3 at the rate of LTH.
Currently we are working on ETCS level 2 on 3GPP release 14. So we will try to have a presentation on that maybe in the next week.
Yeah.
But as far as the quantum networking is concerned, this is a concept which is now emerging, and we can rope in the people who are experts in this area. So we had a one-on-one conference yesterday with the Russians. They are trying to do it in Moscow and St. Petersburg for the entire network.
Okay. So you will do the presentation and then we will discuss?
Sure, sir.
Okay, good. Ramana, take it.
Noted down, sir. Noted down. Sir, a couple of, I think, some kind of comments or questions, sir. Would like to know the cost and performance of takeaway of the
that I already said that.
And functional requirement and application.
I don't know what it is. Functional requirement is 1474.
I mean, but basically, you would like to know from the presentation this aspect. This is at the time of registration, some of the participants have registered that.
Okay. The functional requirement today, the current solution is CBTC for metros and ETCS for mainline railway. ETCS got its own specification. Functional requirements are very well defined. CBTC also, the requirements are very well defined by 1474. And as far as application is concerned, CBTC for metro, ETCS for mainline. That is the trend today.
Sir. New developments, cyber threats and protection.
Today,
yes, suggested
Ministry of Housing and Urban Development has already mandated that CBTC to be used for all future metro systems.
Yes, that's right. Metros, it's already decided. Different signaling systems on Indian metros. We have got only two types, DTG and CBTC.
Sir, to understand the recent developments in metro signaling, just I think basic arrangement of signaling in metro train operation. This is basically anticipation of the participants.
Yeah, I know. But this is something you can arrange. You can arrange a separate session on CBTC.
Right, sir.
If enough audience is there, you can arrange CBTC, and we can. We can get some good hand on that. No problem.
So one basic can be done now. Everybody wanted to know what is the fallback arrangement in line 3 today, sir.
Fallback arrangement is being provided by means of providing axle counters in every section, and line side signals at the stations which are
signals
constant crossings.
Yes, standard is axle counter is the fallback arrangement.
Yes. But I think in future, when the reliability of the CBTC is established fully, and also there is a sufficient level of redundancy, we can sort of in the light metro systems, where the traffic is not very heavy, probably we should dispense with the line side systems, fallback systems altogether.
Yeah, in Metro Hyderabad, they are claiming, that they have not utilized even once the fallback system arrangement.
So I think future will move to, we can see the movement towards that goal.
There are some staunch people who say that fallback is unnecessary. So this is an item of debate.
But it can really cut down the costs to a great extent.
Sir.
Going back to fallback, you lose so much capacity that it is better to wait for the repair of the failed CBTC system itself.
It depends on the situation. See, like we are aiming for a PHPDT of more than 50,000. So with the train getting stuck, probably to repair it at that time, it will hold up so much of traffic. So it is better to move at a degraded mode and clear the traffic rather than just hold it for. We don't know what type of fault may occur. Hopefully, because of adequate redundancy, we don't expect such faults to occur. So let's see. Ultimately, it is the experience which will drive us towards that.
Yeah. Better we have experience with a very intense metro, not light metros like Hyderabad. Intense metro, what happens?
Because the Mumbai Metro Line 3, which is planned, is definitely going. It is going into such areas which are not served by either Western or Central Railway or Harbour Line today. So definitely, it is going to have a very high level of traffic.
Especially underground is a problem actually. Underground will have more problems if the fallback is not there.
But sir, main issue is say for Mumbai Metro Line 3, if they try to operate in fallback, there will be so much crowd. Even we find in local trains, if one train is detained by 3-4 minutes during peak hour, it becomes very difficult to handle the passengers. So fallback means you are not running the train at all.
No. Doesn't mean fallback means at least we'll be able to clear the crowding at the station will be avoided. Because the underground environment, we have to restrict the crowds at the stations also. That also factor has to be kept in view.
Sir.
Anyway, okay.
Sir, we'll go ahead, sir.
That's all. Over.
Sir. And then, sir, a few more are there at the end. This is come through this.
Already, Arun has answered this.
I think some of things, yes, sir.
You have seen evolution of metro signaling. I have covered something.
Yes, sir.
Signaling telecom system in metro.
Sir.
Signaling system on the Indian metros. We said.
Sir, there is a question from AK Chopra, sir.
If you train ahead in case of
CBTC,
I repeat again. How does the system recognize the end of the train ahead in case of CBTC? See. The train length is known, the location of the train is known, so the end of the back of the train can always be recognized. The train, the front end is known because of the odometry calculation, and the train length is known, so the back end of the train is known, and give a margin of 50 meters or something, and say that is the stopping point, sir.
So I just wanted to know whether there is anything kept specifically behind the train to recognize this is the end of the train?
No, sir.
If the train length is known, it's okay, fine.
Yeah, yes.
But as you said that earlier, if some coach is derailed, then it can have some problem.
Yes, you'll have a problem.
Then you are talking about two accidents taking place simultaneously.
That is the safety man. Karma safety man's idea.
Just by the side, I just want to ask Mr. Tudeja, with
Yes,
the
sir.
corona which is going on, how are you going to run these suburban trains?
Trains, it's really everybody's guess that how do we maintain the social distancing?
That's why I'm asking.
Metros.
That's why I'm asking. That is the suburban trains. Normally, one person breathes, another takes out. So I
Yes.
mean, how do you maintain the distance?
Practically
The
impossible.
suburban trains will never come out.
It's practically impossible in the local train. And hopefully by the time we run metro trains, we hope that the corona will be over by then.
We can put all the affected people in one train, unaffected people in another train.
Sir, PK Verma's question, sir. Sir, do you think we can do away with the backup system of fixed signals?
This has been discussed, I
We
think.
have discussed now. We have discussed. There's a big.
Yeah, it has been discussed. And then a question from the Mr. Bamu. Sir,
This
how
also we
proven
discussed.
is ETCS to deployment over LTE era?
Experiments are going on. Now our own experiment will be taking place. We will know when it comes. And
Sir.
LTE, it will succeed. I don't think there is any reason why it should not succeed.
Any issues? Sir, any issues faced in the
Because
Korea, sir?
there is no approved standard of this issue.
Sir.
Dr. Condon, LTE as it is, or we are thinking about LTER?
LTER, because
LTER.
our requirements are different, you know. The carrier requirement, the physical layer department, all those things are only the application layer. There a lot of changes will be there.
So we don't have any specification for LTER?
It is there now. The application layer requirement is the UIC FRMCS, Future Railway Mobile Communication System requirement.
Okay.
Sir, Gondan sir, are you saying that in the deployment of ETCS2 over LTE in Korea, they have their own standards, or they have picked the standards of LTE for the users on ETCS level 2?
Hello?
Mr. Bamu is speaking, sir. Mr. Bamu
Yes,
is speaking.
yes, Mr. Bamu.
Yes, sir. Sir, Bamu, sir, kindly repeat the question, sir. Sir, your voice is slightly disturbing.
He can type, no? He can type.
No, Bamu, to my knowledge, I am Arvind Mittal. Bamu, to
Sir.
my knowledge, in Korea, LTE is used only for video transmission. It is not for ETCS level 2.
Okay.
My
But LTE
question
is used. LTE is used in
to Dr. Gowron.
Ji.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, LTE to LTER is a quantum jump. When I was in Qualcomm, I tried to get CDMA-R developed vis-a-vis GSM-R.
Yes.
In 5 years, they couldn't develop. They could not get CDMA-R.
Yes.
Similarly, LTE to LTER would be a quantum jump. Would be very difficult. That's my idea, my view.
Yes, sir. That is why, as I said, 3GPP is also hesitant. What is the reason for hesitancy? I don't know. Whether it is a market driven, there won't be any market, or it is a technology driven, there is going to be a problem for 5 years. By then 5G will come. I don't know the reason, but if I get something from my lab, I will be able to appraise you on that, sir.
It's both economy of scale and technology gaps. I think both are there.
Sir, last two questions, sir. Here from the charting side, SK Biswas is asking, should we go for dedicated frequency instead of ISM band for Wi-Fi for CBTC?
That is why that is the LTE. If LTE, we already have 5 megahertz. I'm told railways have been given 5 megahertz. Of course, letter has not come, but we are likely to get 5 megahertz. So LTE band, if it comes, okay.
So one last question is, we have included cyber security with the ISA scope. I think this is a statement, Mr. Verma, sir.
Acha. Good. Okay.
Sir, any more questions from the participants, sir? Sir, if no questions are there, sir, just I request all the participants kindly fill up the feedback form which have been given to you. I mean, which have been posted in the chat, sir. Kindly click on that. It hardly takes 2 minutes. So basically, the proof of pudding is in eating. Not only in eating, also you have to tell that how tasty it is. So basically, from the administration side, they would like to know that how the things are going on. So there's a small feedback form has been designed and posted in the chat, sir. If you're able to access, kindly access it and then just click it, sir. It hardly take 2 minutes, multiple choice questions only, and then you can sign off, sir. Sir, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, thank you.
Sir, sir, please. Sir.
Sir, excellent talk, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aravind. How are you?
Fine, sir. Fine, sir.
Good.
So I'll keep it open, sir, for some time, 3 to 4 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Raja. It was an excellent presentation. At least I was a week in the metro. I learned a lot today. And thanks a lot for these efforts.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. Dr. Raja Goundan. Sir, the excellent presentation, sir. I mean, right from the basics, and they can, in fact, you have shown the insight into the signaling, how theoretically, how it has been arrived. Finally, there is a paradigm that finally it is leading to two-aspect signaling. So it's very nicely treated and mathematically presented, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And also, I thank all the participants for giving the feedback and for your cooperation, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So I'll keep the session another 5 minutes, sir. If you have a difficulty in giving the feedback form, kindly fill it up and then you can sign off, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot. It was a very nice presentation. Thanks, Dr. Rajagundan.
Yes, left or what?
Okay. I think Sir Raja Goundan, sir.
No, how do we fill up the backup?
Yes, sir. I'm having a recording. Is there, sir? I can give the link to you. I can post the link. Sir.
Yeah, I post the link on the chat itself or by mail.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will do that. Either by mail, I'll send it, sir.
All better put it on WhatsApp group, that senior SND.
Sir, a link only I can able to put, sir. Actually, what happens is it's going to be around 500 to 600 MB file. So definitely, I'll give the link, sir.
Yeah.
I'll send the link.
Okay, that's fine.
So,
right.
Those who have filled up the feedback, can we leave now?
Yes, sir. Those people, those who have given the feedback can leave, sir. Around I received 26 feedback, and if you want me to share that also, I can show you what is the feedback.
Okay. So thank you
Thanks
for
a lot.
attending this seminar.
Sir.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the 26 people have given the feedback, sir. So this is
Total, how many had attended?
Sir, today we reached around 85, sir, at one point of time. And
okay,
most stability is 78. Most of the people are there. Now it has come down to 65 also. Now at the very end, the fag end, I mean, FSC. So actually registration is about 103 participants, sir. Basically, some people are expressing they want to join, but because of the working day, so they're not able to do, sir. So in fact, they're saying that you post the, the presentation session link in the ERISET website so that people wants to, go through it leisurely. So this is one problem, sir. But if we conduct in the evening, say 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I don't know, sir, even then the working people able to take it.
Most of them will be working from home, so that should be fine.
That should be fine, sir.
Or you can arrange on Saturday, Sunday, any day.
Sir. Yes, sir. But not all people, sir. Few people are they are on the field already, running. The trains are running. So sir. 30 responses we received, sir. We can see that, and it can be a very fair assessment you can give, sir. Not necessarily because they're very anonymous and just only to know ourselves how the things are going, sir. And tomorrow there is a very good presentation is there. I request please join, sir. He is one of our colleague only, Mr. Amit Garg, Professor Amit Garg. He is a doctorate. He is having a doctorate and he is teaching at IIM Ahmedabad from last 10 to 12 years. And his presentation the tomorrow, which is going to give, is already given to the MOSR as well as MOEF, sir. They have appreciated a lot. And it is going to be a very good presentation. It will not be very lengthy one, sir, 45 minutes to 1 hour, and also followed by 30-minute session. So he wants to see that from people from all walks of life, so that, I mean, as to generate the ideas and then further feedback, and then he would like to be answered if any questions are there. Tomorrow it is going to be good, sir. Tomorrow
Have you posted the link or somewhere?
Yes, sir. I posted the link in the senior all the WhatsApp groups. Again, if you want me to post, I'll post it, sir.
No,
And
that's
tomorrow,
fine.
today night by 11 o'clock, I'm going to close the registration, sir, because already we've reached around 120 participants. So after that, I think maximum limit is 250, sir. We can on WebEx we can handle 250. So we handled 120 sessions earlier, sir. So it is going to be a test case for us if it's going to touch 200 people tomorrow. And even operating people and people from academia and all, they're joining in all walks of life for tomorrow's session, sir.
What is the topic?
It's called the modal shift. Modal shift is transition in the transportation sector of Indian Railways.
Okay.
Due to I mean because of the Paris change climate agreement and other reasons. So how it is going to be, sir? Right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I received 31 feedbacks. So you can also see the this one, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm signing off, sir. Thank you very much.